Welcome to Surrender School.
I'll start with the mission statement for Surrender School. At Surrender School, we recover. Our mission is to share 12-step and other supportive recovery solutions to those who want a healthy relationship with food. We are not an official 12-step meeting, but we do try to adhere to the spirit of the traditions because I think all of us are from 12-step programs. Okay, here is what we offer currently. We have workshops. This is Supercharge Your Recovery. It is for the entire year. We are on week 12. So thank you everybody for hanging in there. We also have something called First Friday Enneagram Exchange, where Michael Naylor is going to be covering the 3 instincts. He's covered the self-pres so far. The next First Friday, he will cover the sexual instinct, all 3 zones. The first Friday after that, so the first Friday of the month after that, he will cover the social instinct, all 3 zones, and then one more instinct. One more session. He's going to cover basically what can you do to rise up the instincts that you're weak on, right? The ones that you aren't working on, and then also to take the dominant one and drop it down because the balance is the goal on all of that. And then after that, we'll start kind of a podcast kind of thing where, and it'll start with me interviewing him on his 12-step journey and how he found the Enneagram and so forth. And then he'll interview me probably one of the months. And then we'll have guests that come in. And all of those, they're podcast-like, but they also include question and answer session. So if you have questions for Michael or for me, that it's a good thing to come in and participate in that. So anyway, that's First Friday. That's at 8 a.m. on 8 a.m. Pacific time, the first Friday of every month. Okay, we have book study, The Alchemy of the Enneagram and Transforming Addiction with Michael Naylor. That is monthly on Mondays. The dates are out on the website. Tomorrow is chapter 8, which is type 5. I'm excited about that because my husband is a 5, so I'm excited about that. Okay, we also have reading rooms. Real quick, the difference between a book study and a reading room. Book study, you read it on your own, and then basically some of the stuff is covered during the session. The reading room, we literally read the book together. We have 3 reading rooms going on right now. One is Drop the Rock, Wednesdays at 3 Pacific. One is the AA 12 and 12, and that's Tuesdays at 1:30 Pacific. And then the Emotional Sobriety book by Ellen Berger, the 12 Essential Insights for Emotional Sobriety book, is Tuesdays and Wednesdays from 8 to 9. I didn't cover this for the Supercharge. We have 3 office hours, and office hours are just to come and share, ask questions. If you didn't get a chance to share your question here or didn't go into it as deeply as you wanted to, whatever, the office hours are a great thing to come to. So, and that's Monday and Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific, and then also Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific. The Monday one doesn't have a lot of attendees, so that might be one that I drop, although it's been lovely so far because I've had a chance to have one-on-one conversations with people, which I've enjoyed. Okay. So First Fridays I already kind of talked about a bit, but I wanted to point that out. Please come to those. I think that you will enjoy them. I think it's going to be really fun. It's great now. The instinct workshop that he's doing is like awesome. So come for that because that does impact the way you show up as your type for sure. Okay, so here's everything that we offer. Consider taking experience, working, attending, taking the past workshops or book studies. Everything is recorded and out on the website. Lots and lots of stuff out there. Consider experiencing the meditations by steps. They're about 5 minutes each. And so if you're going to work a step, that's a good way to start the work on the step is to do the meditation with that. Work through the steps alone or with a sponsor. Every year we do a step study. This year's step study is the working the steps by type. And then also consider attending the in-person retreat in 2026 in Las Vegas. Start saving your money now so you can come here to Las Vegas for the in-person retreat. I'm going to have a scavenger hunt as part of that. I haven't even talked to Joy about that yet, but I'm so excited. I've started to put together a scavenger hunt for that. Anyway, you won't win anything except bragging rights, but it'll be fun. All right. So all of this can be found on surrenderschool.org. If you're consider volunteering, reach out to Lori. I was teasing Lori this morning about Lori's like taking on, she's basically any assignment that nobody wants, everybody gives it to Lori. So Lori's going to be like doing absolutely everything for everyone in the coming weeks. I hope that that's not true, Lori. We won't burden you like that, but okay. All right. So if Surrender School has helped your recovery, please donate. And once again, there is a donate button on the main page of Surrender School. And once again, we are a 501(c) not-for-profit organization in the United States, which means any donations you make are tax deductible. But just nobody gets any kind of money. None of us get paid to do this. This is all volunteer work, but there are expenses, right? The WebEx expense, the website expense, and so forth. So we do need to cover our expenses. So, and I'm sure there will be expenses that will incur for the retreat also. So anyway, consider doing that. All right. Also consider joining the WhatsApp group. One thing that we do is remind you that there's something coming up now. So we send that out as reminders. So it's kind of nice to see that, especially I try, and usually I'm pretty good about saying, hey, the question of the week is this, so that you know the question you're supposed to be working on, because sometimes that gets confusing. Okay, good. All right. So now let's go ahead and feel your breath going in and out of your body, and feel your feet on the floor. The goal is to be 100% present. So let go of whatever happened this morning or whatever is going to happen later today, and just be present with us here. And together, let's say the simple set-aside prayer. God, help me to set aside everything I think I know, to leave space for what I have yet to learn. All right, the goal of this course is a personal journey. Our focus is to help you understand the relationship between your false self, that ego structure that's built up, and your true self, which is basically who you are, and to treat yourself with unrelenting compassion because you are human. Okay, we do believe, since this is working the steps, if you haven't yet, you want to take a test, because it will guide you in the right direction, because you're going to want to answer the questions for the type. And if you know what your type is, it makes it, I think, richer for sure. One thing to keep in mind is that self-contempt stops spiritual growth. At least I believe that. So if it's as if my higher power says, you can hate yourself if you want to, I guess, but you can't grow spiritually while you're hating yourself. So you choose, I'll wait. and I'm choosing to grow spiritually instead of hating myself or feeling contempt for myself. We do believe if you do the work, you will be supercharged. I do want to say, I don't talk about this very often, but I will say things like the amount of work that you put into it determines what you get out of it. And that is not an indictment saying you must do. It just says that's just like one of those facts of life. It's a fact of reality, is if you put a lot of work into your spiritual path, then you will get a lot out of it. And if you don't have the time or energy or even focus to do that, you just won't get a lot out of it. It's okay, because that's just the time of life that you're in, right? So no reason to beat yourself up over it. Just realize the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. That's just the way the world works. Okay. Not the whole world, but certainly recovery. All right. Another reminder is to be kind. There's a lot of things you can be in the world, and so choose to be kind to yourself and also to other people. All right. Basically, the plan works this way. We share a little bit. I cover a little bit of information. We get randomly assigned into Zoom breakout rooms where you share on the question of the week, and then we come back together and cover a little bit more information. All right. This slide I have up all the time because it is really what is happening. At the top, it says inquiry, which just basically means questions. And the entire 12 months that we're doing, we are answering a question a week most of the time. And step 4, it's more than that, a little bit more than that. But basically, inquiry is questions. So we're answering questions, and the questions get a little bit deeper each week. They get a little bit harder to answer. And if you're answering them all, that's great. If you didn't have time, you might want to go back and answer. Like if you just came now and you haven't done step 1 or 2 yet, you may just want to go and answer the 4th question in each of those, because it's the deepest question is the 4th question, because there's 4 questions. So you may just want to do that so you can kind of catch up a little bit. The reason that I talk about this slide is because if you work and you answer questions and you're really digging into those questions, you will start to see the patterns, the way you live, the patterns as patterns, and you will see the projections, the stories we tell ourselves as that. You will begin to see that. It is seeing those patterns and seeing those projections that allows that ego structure to dissipate. It never disappears. I don't think the ego is bad. It's just defended you as a child, and we don't need it as much anymore, right? So, and that's why we want that ego, that we want to crack the shell of that ego and basically get that ego structure to just kind of simmer down a little bit so that we can live our lives as our true selves. That's really what we're trying to do. All right. Last week, I introduced the monthly challenge by type, and it says, this is your arrow, consider doing this. And so I just real quick want to see if anybody had anything to share on the monthly challenge. And I'm going to come out of sharing and raise your hand if you had something that you wanted to share about that. Hold on just a second. Okay, I see Linda T, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Okay, so yesterday, for my workshop, I was unprepared with the introductory slides, the Surrender School slides. And fortunately, Lori, was able to throw up her slides that she has for her Drop the Rock thing. But it was my reaction to it was interesting. There was like the initial, oh shit. And then it was like, okay, that's all right. Not the end of the world, not the end of the world. Lori, do you have yours? Yes, I do. Okay, then. And it worked out beautifully. No problem. That was
awesome. Yeah. So for the 6th, the challenge was do something that where you don't prepare in advance. I think you were supposed to like prepare to not prepare. No, I'm kidding. No,
I was prepared to not prepare. Yeah.
You're preparing to not prepare. No, that's awesome. Because and this is what's cool is in the past, right, would have been all this self-judgment and recriminations and this fear that people would think you were less than and all that. And it just like dissipates. That is what happens with us. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Linda. Shirley, to you.
Hi, everyone. Shirley here. So my challenge for this month, I'm a type 2 and my back arrow's 4. And I think that there's one quality. So the 2s, they always say you often do things for others. But I feel that 2s, and I don't know if it's just me or if it's 2s in general, Cheryl, but are very dependent. We rely on a lot of where 8s want to do everything by themselves. 2s always want a partner. They always want it to be social, very dependent. And I had a lot of little projects around my house that I started to mentally make a list and say, oh, when someone's around to help me and they're creative. But I said to myself, you can go outside and rearrange that plant. And I did it. And I've just been organizing some just small things. I always want to do the big aha thing, but just small things around my house. I'm telling myself, you can do it. Just try it. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Shirley. Dave, to you.
Hold on.
Yeah, hi, everybody. So I'm a type 8. The monthly challenge was you often feel the need to step up. This week, realize that you also need to be loved. So design a technique to express your feelings. And so in a couple weeks, my wife Kim and I are going to Dallas to take care of our granddaughters while our son and his wife are on a cruise. And we're looking forward to that. We're really excited about that. But yesterday, he and his wife surprised us by saying, we want to go on a cruise next year in March, and we'd like to invite you guys to come with us. And since you're going to be on a retiree budget pretty soon, we'd like to pay for your stateroom. So in the past, my reaction would have been, oh, no, we have to pay, our own way, or we insist on paying half or something like that. And instead of doing that, what I felt, it says, design a technique to express your feelings. My feeling was gratitude. So I just said, okay, thanks. Because the reality is they can afford it. They can afford it better than we can. It's not that we couldn't afford to do it, but if they want to give us a gift like that, thanks a lot. We appreciate it. So that's a stretch for me because there's part of me that wants to, and the interesting thing too is he's an 8 also. So I have to sometimes just let him take control of things because that's, that's part of his nature also. So, but it's a very generous thing, and we're very excited about that. We've never been on a cruise before, and it's a year away, but we got plenty of time to get ready for it. So good to see everybody today.
Awesome, Dave. Thank you. Yeah, I had a friend one time that said, "Can't you just let yourself be loved?" Because it's like, right? Oh, I'm proud of you. And that, yeah, that's a stretch because we don't, yeah. And it's not, twos give, give to be loved. And it's like, it's almost like the eight. Remember, if somebody pays you a compliment, oh, what a beautiful dress, right? The urge is to say, these old rags, right? It's like, even if it's new, right? No, it's like, it's all good. Just, yeah, let yourself be loved because you are loved. And, and it's awesome. So cool. Thank you, Dave, for sharing that. Liz, to you.
Hey, I'm a 4. That was not the challenge for the week, but I just wanted to say about how very often came up when if I didn't solve a problem or I didn't succeed the way I wanted to doing something, or I forgot something, or I made a mistake, and I don't know, it was coming to me that not to berate myself, and even like tell me that I was proud of myself. I think, the little voice was the first time that voice told me that once. So that was a premiere. And I want to say that I learned a lot about by listening to how you share as an 8. You tell us the way you would react to things, and I have a lot to learn from the 8. And I would say it is like having my own back, standing for myself. And so that's a premiere. And the voice would come up to break, and then like, no. And even there was that say that I was proud of myself. That little voice was very new.
Awesome. And isn't that lovely? Isn't it lovely, Liz? Yes, it is absolutely lovely. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Lauren, to you.
I'm frantically, hi, good afternoon. I was searching for where I got my challenge from because I have like a fraction of it. I have the 3, the 4, and the 5, and I thought I needed to do what resonates with me because the 4 thing I do a lot, go out into nature. So I did the 3 thing where I actually resist feelings as a 4 sometimes, which is weird. So this morning I was doing meditation because I attended meditation, and I just had, anxiety land on my chest like a light elephant. It wasn't horrible, but, even I like run from it. And so I just sat there with it, and just when I do that, I really feel like I deserve a gold star or something. It's like I don't trust the process all the way. And yet when I do it, it's exactly what happens. But I don't know why it feels so monumental, really. I mean, and it doesn't even take that long, really. It's just being with my body and the feelings. So anyways, and I think, yes, I'm a 4, but at some point I had to stuff them really hard. And so anyways, so thanks.
Thank you, Lauren. And I want to say too, sometimes with 4s, and I don't know if this is the case with you, I don't know, but sometimes with 4s, what will happen because they've been told to put a lid on it so much that, and once again, their base emotion is shame. What'll happen is they feel ashamed of feeling all those emotions. And so that is a natural thing that your ego would say, let's not feel those. Let's not feel those. Put those away till later, right? And then they get put away forever. And then suddenly we have all these feels, right? So I do think when people come to here and are sharing their deep, deep feelings, and that means crying, it may mean screaming, hopefully not in the main room, but whatever, right? Whatever it is, that there are like deep feelings. And what happens with all of us here is we feel that, we see that and go, yes, that is what needs to be expressed. That 93-year-old friend of mine that passed away last year named Norma, she would always say, get it out. Whatever you do, get it out. right? Because I'm an 8, and so I didn't, no, it's little bullshit. Why am I even upset about this little bullshit like that? And she would say, get it out, because not only do you need to say it, you need to hear yourself say it, right? So yes, I need to hear myself say it. I need to say it out loud, and I need to say it to someone with a compassionate ear. That's what I need, and we all need that. We all need it, right? And 4s definitely need that. Okay, thank you for sharing that, Lauren. All right, Kim, to you.
Hi everyone. I'm a type 6, and mine is I hate to be unprepared, so allow yourself to leave something undone or be unprepared. And I was like, I don't even know what to do with this. I don't even understand it. And still I really did not know what to say, but I thought I would share anyway. Because at work I feel like I always have to babysit everything and make sure things are done, even stuff that's not my responsibility. And but that, well, thinking about it, there have been times when I've forgotten or something was left undone. And you know what? I have this, like, I tell myself this story, like the world is going to come to an end, and it has never come to an end. Somehow everything is always fixable. Everything can always be, done. And it has never, nothing has ever totally fallen apart, or, the world hasn't ended yet. But I was looking too, I've been kind of trying to practice being retired, like using a little bit of my extra leave. And so during the week, and so I thought, I'm going to go through this group of books and papers and stuff from all of my recovery stuff, and get rid of some stuff. And sometimes you have more of a mess that in the beginning than when you're done. And I've left it undone, and there it sits waiting for me still. So hopefully today or tomorrow I can get that done. But anyway, so that's my deal.
Thank you, Kim. Yeah, and it always is a mess in the middle, right? Always.
Yes.
When you're
Oh,
in the
yeah.
middle of it. Yeah. I want to say too, so my husband is trying to teach me how to get along better in the world when I don't want to do something, because, right? And so I understand when you said, I don't even understand that, because I'm always like, why would you lie? Right? Somebody says, hey, you want to go watch a movie? And I'm like, nah, I don't think so. And he says, can't make an excuse. Tell him you're busy. And I'm like, so far, I just make myself busy so I can say I'm busy. Right. But he just tells them he's busy, and they go, okay. Right. But I'm like, I just can't. I mean, I'm working on it. I mean, I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I'm with you. It's like I go, I don't even understand that. I don't understand that. That makes no sense to me at all. So anyway, I hope part of my recovery isn't lying to people now, but maybe it is. I don't think so though. Thank you, Kim, for that.
Thank you.
Carmen, to you.
Good morning, everybody. Well, I didn't even want to share this, which is so typical of being a 9. I love to stay in the background, do everything for everybody else. I'm not worth it, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so I turned 75 last week. BFD, right? It's a
Yes.
BFD. And I kind of was thinking, well, I want to do a party. It's like, oh, no, it's the whole 9 thing. And I happened to mention it to a friend who then just took it and ran with it. And I can't tell you what a beautiful, beautiful feeling that was. To see so many of my friends in a room, not just to honor me, a lot of it was, yes, but to have fun with other people. And it felt so wonderful to let myself do that. And I had to do a lot of praying ahead of time because it was so bloody uncomfortable for me to be the center of attention. But it's because of learning about my type 9 that I went ahead with it. That little child inside wanted a party. She's never had one. So yay for Enneagram, yay for me. Thank you, thank you.
And once again, that feeling is letting yourself be loved.
Yeah.
So many of us go through life and we don't. We hide in some way, right? 9s check out, and you didn't. You stayed there and you let yourself be loved. That's awesome. I love that. Thank you. Jennifer, to you, and I'm going to sneeze, so I'm going to go on mute.
Thank you. I'm loving these shares, and I'm just loving that sixes are in the house today. Yo, sixes. I think this is the first time three of us have shared at any one given time. So I can just see myself so much in what Linda and Kim shared. And so it spurred me to something that I've been thinking about with the challenge of don't be prepared. Because, like Kim said, there's a part of me that's like, it's inconceivable, like literally in my bones, like not be prepared for something. And yet it leads me to question, and I hope you can give me some insight on a part of six that I'm not aware of, unless it's counterphobic six, which is like an eight, which is I'm a student, and the one of the frameworks that I operate under from a leadership standpoint is adaptive leadership, which says it's more important to develop the container, develop the capacities so that you can handle anything that comes on. And I am a master in a crisis. And even in a facilitative context, sometimes I don't prepare the way that I should, but I I'm so comfortable and almost at my best when I allow myself to download and flow in the moment. I get all tight when I write things out and prepare them. It's just that I'm not confident that the words will be there. And so I'll tighten up and I'll write it all down. But when I go into something and don't have it prepared at all and allow myself to be emergent, it's the best that I ever do. Like I had an experience of that on Friday with a talk and a presentation. So that makes me wonder whether or not it has something to do with what I struggle with my greater power and the mantra, which is I am guided within. If maybe that's me being guided within and being quiet, which is the ideal state for me okay, is that starting to connect some dots there?
Yes, because the moments of bliss that we have are when we are in our true self. And here is what the six, in when they are at their best, are courageous pathfinders. So all of that fear and all that stuff dissipates, because, or at least gets set aside, and they do what they need to do. I want to say the container that you talk about is what gives you the sense of safety. So inside of that, real quick, I'm going to tell, I used to work 100 years ago. I was a deputy in Boulder County Jail, and I was a jail guard, right? Murderers, rapists, bad people. And but they were told, and we knew too, that don't take anybody hostage, because we're never going to let you out of here. That hostage has to die. I mean, if they have to die, they have to die. Nobody gets out, right? So don't try to escape by taking someone hostage, right? So that was kind of taught to them. And when we had that secure perimeter, it allowed for a lot of freedom inside. So Boulder County Jail is a direct supervision jail. We walked among the inmates. I'm sure it still is. Walk among the inmates. We're with the inmates because somebody's in charge, and it happened to be me when I was in the module, right? So, but that secure perimeter allowed a lot of freedom inside. And I always did that in my classes too. So everybody understood what the rules were. I was in charge here. This is what we're going to do. It stays according to my plan, but it was fun and free. I mean, I had like CEOs wearing headbands with shit on their head, I mean, it was just really fun. But that's because the perimeter was secure, right? And that is what you do in that, right? That gives you that sense of safety, which means you can be free inside. That is one of the best lessons you could possibly learn, is that. And that is beautiful. And it's such a wonderful growth for the six. It's a wonderful thing for the six. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Tamara, to you.
Hello, just quickly, I'm a 2, and my challenge for the month or this week or whatever was to do something for myself, creative for myself. And so what I did was just coincidentally, it matched the timing. I took myself on a week-long road trip in Tennessee. I've always been traveling with my adult daughter on companion fares and all that, and it didn't work out, and it's great that it didn't. I didn't really have a plan. I got to Nashville and got a car and had the first night planned and where I was going to stay, and from there I just made my way east and it was very creative because it was happening every day was a new adventure because I really didn't have a plan and just discovered things. I was trying to see if I would maybe want to live in Tennessee, but anyway, so that's what I did as a 2. I left everything, behind and didn't really keep in touch with anybody, except, periodically with my daughter, but yeah, so that's what I did.
Awesome. Awesome. How did it feel?
Well, I was going to say, it felt really great to not have to be concerned about another person's issues or, somebody who's concerned about bed bugs and all that. I don't have those kind of fears, or I just go into the hotel, I'm trusting, I don't, and what I wanted to eat. And it was great not to have that as a consideration. Yeah, I felt lazy, but I know that's just me labeling myself. It was just me getting an opportunity to just be a 2. So thank you. Mhm.
Awesome. That's great. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on. I'm going to share my screen again. Thank you, everybody, for your shares. That was awesome. All right. Okay, so we are step 3, which is made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. I have a frog here because there's an old project management story that we used to tell. 3 frogs on a log, 2 of them decide to jump out. How many frogs are left on the log? All 3, because a decision is not action. In our case, what basically, right, we know that this decision that we're talking about, if we want recovery, needs to be recovery is a decision followed by action. And when I used to sponsor people, people would say, okay, I'm ready. I made a decision. I'm turning my will on what do I do now? And it's very simple. You work the steps. You do steps 4 through 9. That's what you do. That is the action that you take. All the other actions, Michael Naylor has a saying, inspiration is cheap fuel. And I love that because if you've ever had a really like a high performance car and you buy cheap fuel, it sputters and it just doesn't do what it needs to do. It just doesn't work properly. And it doesn't, and I don't mean inspiration like from God. I just mean, when you go to like a Tony Robbins seminar and you're all excited and you come out of there, inspiration is cheap fuel. It doesn't get you far. What gets you far is the work and working the steps. So that is what, when you make that decision to turn your will and your life over to the care of God, as you understand God, whatever you call God, doesn't matter. None of that matters, right? If you make that decision, that means that you are ready to move forward working the steps. That's really what we're talking about when we talk about this. All right. So let's talk for a second about what might be difficult about you working this step, the 3rd step, which basically says, okay, I made a decision that I'm going to do this. Okay. Real quick, I'll cover this. And this is out there right now, Lori. Thank you for posting it. It's out there on where you have all the different types are there for you to pick yours. Down at the bottom are the any of the documents that we have that are about all the types are on that page. So at the bottom of it is this, and it's called difficulty by type, or step 3 difficulty. So the ones, right, almost always the one's problem is they need it to be right, right? So they need the right decision toward a perfect higher power that I completely understand. Okay, there are 3 errors in this assumption. The first is, right, just make the decision, right or wrong, because life changes, whatever. The higher power is perfect, we'll never see it, and we will never completely understand a higher power. What? Right? That's like a wave, understanding the ocean, never going to happen. So it's just like that stalls in this. And I've worked with type 1s before, and that literally is what stalls them out because they want it to be just exactly it's like, oh, stop. No, just doesn't matter. Just move forward. Okay. For the 2s, they're accustomed to earning love by giving. So just turning this over and turning something over is very unintuitive for the 2s. They like, it's a different kind of control than the 8s have, but there's still this sense of this idea of turning over is really difficult. For the 3s, this higher power may ask me to do something that I'm not good at. 3s do not like to do things they are not good at all. Okay, for 4s, trusting something unseen. I put, let me paint a picture, make a Mandela. fours will sometimes make the decision that they're going to major in minor things. So they work on something related, but not quite like pushing it, not quite working on the thing. So anyway, I'll be interested to, I know a lot of fours now, so I'll be interested to see, is there another way that I should be saying this besides that? For the fives, I don't know enough about this higher power to turn anything over. I need to learn more. So fives usually want to do more research. They want to know more. For the six, trusting something unseen, I can barely trust things that I see. So this trust in a higher authority, ooh, that's really hard for the sixes, right? Because this is an unseen thing, right? And usually they need proof. And once again, they're called the loyalists because sixes are fiercely loyal to a trusted authority. And by authority, it just means something, you know, greater than them. So one, and sometimes it's a boss, right? Sometimes it's a parent, sometimes it's a spouse, sometimes it's the greater power. Okay, for the sevens, a decision sounds limiting. And by the way, decision comes from this idea to cut off other options. It's from whatever it is, its source means to cut off, right, all other options. So you make a decision, and that means you're on that narrow path, and that basically goes against what the sevens just naturally want, at least the ego structure of the sevens. For the eights, what I found for me, I'm pretty good at making decisions, but not really good with the follow through. I'm becoming better at the follow through and forgiving myself for past lack of follow through. Okay, and for the nines, I'll worry about that tomorrow. Let me watch my favorite movie again. And once again, this ties back to the passion of the types. So for the nines specifically, because that the way that they misunderstand the world is they think there is no harm in delaying. And in reality, there can be. It isn't always, but there can be harm in delaying. Okay, so anyway, these are this. And one of the things I'd like you to do over the week, if you have a chance, is basically take a look at this and see, is this yours? And if it's not, this is what we're going to share on at the beginning of next, like you just shared on the challenge. We're going to share on the difficulties by type. And I came up with these, and I'm more than willing, as a matter of fact, excited when I hear somebody say, that's not exactly it, it's actually this. Because I learn about, by talking to people and listening to the different types, I learned so much more about the types than, because language is imprecise, right? And I choose a word, and that word's not quite right. So sometimes, anyway, thank you. All right. So you are going to be sharing in the breakout rooms, step 3, question 3. That's what the sharing is. I'm going to go over the guidelines again. Read the question first. Everybody reads the question first, and then you share. The only purpose of the breakout room is to read that question for your type and share on that. So, and everybody's been really good about doing that. If there's time at the end, everybody's finished. They've all shared on their question because it's going to be 30 minutes long. So if everybody's done that, then you can share on other things after that. That's fine. Once everybody is gone, you can do that. We want to be sure that we leave you out there for the full 30 minutes. My husband says there's time, and then there's Cheryl time. And usually I'm like, 20 minutes, it's time. We're like, no. So you're going to be there 30 minutes, and it is almost a quarter after right now. Okay. And then you'll come back to the main room. We'll cover a little bit more information, and then there'll be more sharing and answering of questions and so forth. Okay, I want to cover something real quick, and then we'll open it up for additional shares. And so I'm going to have a screen like each week will be a screen like this, and it will say, write on this question for next week's share. So it'll look just like this. And so next week is step 3, question 4. And the reason I'm doing this, because it gets a little bit more complex when we get into step 4. So take a picture of this or jot it down or whatever to remind yourself. And then, of course, out on the website, it says that as well. And then I think that is it. Don't forget office hours and so forth. I'm going to stop sharing, and we're going to open it for additional shares. So I think one of the things I want to talk about real quick is, and I said this earlier, but I want to repeat this again. If you have just come in now, or you haven't had a chance to do all the questions, don't stress about not doing all the questions. The way that they are designed is that the 4th question of each step. So you have week 1, 2, 3, 4, the 4th week. So the 4th question of each step is kind of like a conglomeration of all the other stuff. all the other questions together. So it actually does get more complex and more complete. So if you haven't had a chance to answer every week, just go to step 1. Like if you just came today, go to step 1, question 4, and answer that the best you can. And then go to step 2, question 4, and answer that the best you can. And then for this coming week, you're going to answer step 3, question 4, and then you're caught up. And then when we're ready to take on step 4, you're good to go. You're caught up. So don't beat yourself up or feel like, because what happens is people think they're going to, my husband is calling, which I have to answer. Lauren, I'm going to have you share. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry to be greedy. I can't stay long today, though. I can't stay for the entirety. I just wanted to say that I feel like I want to out myself as like I need to, and I've been working on this as I work through the questions and the journaling, that I have to own that my intensity is a problem. Like I even hate saying that. As soon as I say it, I just want to cry. And my stomach just goes into knots a little bit. But as I continue to see it be a problem when it crops up in different ways, I just, I don't do it perfectly. It's just like, oh yeah, there's equanimity somewhere in the middle, Lauren. Don't let it go too high. Don't let it go too low. What we had a number of 4s, not everybody, but a number of them. And, it's like when the sadness isn't acceptable, it's kind of what feeds like the cocaine looking portion, because the joy part people like to get on board with. So anyways, just really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
So I want to say too, there was a gal that used to come last year. Her name was Sandy, and she would say she was a 9, and anger is like underneath the 9, right? That's that 8, 9, and 1. Anger is their deal. And she would say, "Oh, hello, anger, old friend," right? And it's like, yeah. And so much of that is the acceptance, right? We see it first. That's the awareness. Then we accept it, and then we do action, right? And that's when our greater power can change us. So yeah, you're on track. You're doing exactly right. That's what, right? Exactly. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for sharing that. All right, Richard, to you.
Cheryl, once again, that was a great lead in to what I want to talk about. Last week and this week, in the breakout rooms, I shared issues around my inner critic, and I want to read the question: how has my inner critic driven unhealthy behaviors around food, and how can surrendering to my greater power help me silence that voice? So I just want to share this with everyone. There was an Enneagram program that I was involved in a couple of years back. My wife Becca, her brother, and her mom were also involved in it. It was a 2-year program. And at one point we talked about inner critic. And the activities around that really changed things for me. The first thing that happened was I decided to give my inner critic a name. And it really changed things for me, because then I could start having conversations with him. I named him after my 5th grade English teacher, who was she would shame students, was brutal. And if you put a comma where a semicolon was supposed to go, I mean, it was the most terrible mistake in the universe, etc. So my inner critic's name is Murphy, named after Miss Murphy, this English teacher. But what happened to me in those activities was, instead of, as the question points out, silencing my inner critic, I don't do that. What I've done is over time, I've created a relationship with my inner critic, because my inner critic has told me I'm doing what I think is in your best interest. And so we now have conversations about my lack of perfection, and how I don't need to be perfect, that I can grow, that being better is a good thing. It's not an absolute necessity. And if I don't get as better as Murphy wants me to, then I failed. So any of you who have, just think about this, any of you who have taken the attitude of, get out of here, inner critic, get out of here and never come back. Please consider, because it worked so well for me, starting to have conversations with your inner critic and forming an allyship with him or her. It turns out that Murphy, for me, has both a feminine and a masculine voice, and I can differentiate between those two. The other thing that I wanted to say was the word critic. We, almost all of us, especially in the concept of inner critic, we take that to mean something or someone who's going to bash us. And I just want to say, if you look at what a movie critic is, movie critics also praise producers and actors and whatnot. And so, okay, so I have this thing about linguistics. So I looked up what the origin of the word critic is. And it comes from a Greek word that means to discern, to judge, and to decide. So criticism is not always just bashing. It's also saying, well, have you thought about, or, have you looked at it in a different way? Anyway, thank you. I just wanted to, I know it was my topic in the breakout room, but I wanted to share it with everyone.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I also wanted to say, so I'm going to hold up a book. I don't know if you can see it. It's called Blessing My Demons, How to Name, Tame, and Transform Your Inner Critic. And so one of the things, this is by Chelsea Forbrook, and she is I don't know if she's current president or not of the International Enneagram Association. I think she is. And so she believes also that if you name it and befriend it, as opposed to, right, then yeah, rather than it, because what we resist persists. If we resist it, right, because where your energy goes, or where your attention goes is where the energy flows. So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, anyway, that book, if you want to take a picture, whatever, good. Okay. So anyway, text me if you, or WhatsApp me or whatever if you didn't catch that. But and it's kind of funny because she has funny names for them, right? Not quite as funny as your Miss Murphy thing, but it was my 4th grade teacher who used to spank the boys and threatened to spank me all the time for helping people. I don't know. Anyway, thank you, Richard. All right, Gary, to you.
Okay, thank you. Richard, thank you. That was so profound what Richard said that my inner critic said, put your hand down and don't speak. So so anyway, I've missed the last 3 or 4 weeks because of a character defect I call it self-pity. And so I stopped coming to Super Enneagram. I stopped coming to sobriety classes. I reduced my attendance at AA. I didn't speak in AA. I mean, I really isolated. So it just so happens that I've done 9 steps so far. And so the step 9 was so profound for me. I wanted to just take a break and resonate in sort of the glory of it and appreciate it. So I started step 10, and I could see step 10 says, and Cheryl, I think you said this today, we need to review steps 4 through 9, which are the action steps. So this self-pity was just a character defect. And what do I do with character defects? Well, I do steps 4 through 9. So I started step 4 today, and I feel good that I'm back in this class. I feel good that I'm back on track. And I feel good that I just discovered something real simple. Self-pity, I had some anger too. It's just a normal character defect that can be dealt with. So maybe I'll give him a name. I don't know. Anyway, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Gary. Now, if you missed answering the questions from the past week, don't worry about it. Just answer step 3, question 4, and you're all caught up.
Thank you.
Yeah, what usually happens is we go back and we force ourselves to do all these other things, and it's some form of self-punishment. Don't do that. There's no need to do that. If you missed it, it's okay. Just do the 4th question on each of the steps, and you're caught up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Vera, to you.
Hi, so several things. Amazing this thing. Yeah, it was amazing to answer this question this week. And the inner critic, yeah, Richard was spot on. I think that steps 4 and 10 actually, if I don't have a critic, I don't know how I get to do,
Yeah.
just have to be so harsh. But anyway, I wanted to ask you if we can do this every day, because it's like I get in here before the session and it's like I'm in the matrix, and then I'm here and I get out of the matrix, and it's amazing those projections, how they, when they dissolve, I'm a really happy person. It's weird. Yeah, so I think that I'll join you for the rest of the meetings throughout the week. That'd be great. And well, one of the things that I realized was you were talking the other day about, the instincts and how the sexual 4 is actually very much like an 8. And I didn't know whether I was a 4 or an 8. I hate control. I hate being dominated or controlled by people. But then I kind of realized also that I think that what I don't really, really want is for people to shame me. So it's like, if I'm being controlled, I will be respected. If I'm not respected, then I feel shame. So it's pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is a very 4 thing. Yeah, for sure.
And I was wondering, we were talking in the breakout room, what is the relationships between 4 and 9? Because I think that we both suffer from that procrastination. Is there any connection?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the answer to that, but I will say all of us procrastinate, all of us. I mean, and really, if you think about procrastination, it's just not doing. I mean, right? We've entitled it something, but it's basically there's do and not do. I sound like Yoda, but so yeah, I mean, everyone does procrastinate on some things, as that's a human nature thing. So that'd be a really good question to ask Michael Naylor, who is a 4, and I think he's probably going to have a great answer for that. So if you come tomorrow to his session, he's going to be talking about type 5, but he'll answer questions on anything, I'm sure. He never would say, that's not on the topic, guaranteed. He won't. At least he never has with me, and I bounce all over the place. So I think, but that'd be a great question to ask him. And once again, he's an expert and I'm not. So thank you, Vera. Awesome. Yeah, and welcome. Please do come to the office hours, etc., because they're very helpful. I think for me, they are anyway. So serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom
to know the difference.
All right, thank you. So, Lori, if you want to stop the
Thanks for recovering with us.